As MMORPG players usually find there's always some downtime between finding a new favorite MMO or even content. Maybe you're a person waiting for New World or the new WoW expansion. Maybe you're just painfully bored of AFKing in today's MMORPG world. Fear not though, in this video I'll be giving you my personal picks on what games I would personally enjoy or have already enjoyed, Raiding and Bossing Edition. I did a previous video on the PvP edition, so if you haven't checked that out, please go and do that, it would help tremendously. There is no game on this list that is without its problems, just like the MMORPG world.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Not gonna lie to you, coming up with this list has been somewhat of a struggle. There isn't many big raids or raid-like content outside of MMORPGs that I've seen or experienced. If I'm wrong, let me know. So most of this list will consist of raid content, raid bosses, or generally difficult and challenging experiences that simulate the raid or bossing environment and feel. Except you'll be missing the other players in most of these, so solo raids I suppose, but there are a few that do have multiplayer available. Without much further ado, let's get into it. We start on an absolutely strong note here with Monster Hunter World. Now if there's a single game I would say has raids, big fights, the whole raiding experience including looting and crafting, full-on active demolition content, I'd say Monster Hunter World. It has an array of monsters to fight, ranging in difficulty and mechanics, the way they should be fought and such, and it's a hell of a lot of things to farm. That's a hell of a lot of content that you end up spending in the game, and it definitely has pretty fun raids in my experience, at least for now. There are, in general, a lot of tough fights in the game, and generally interesting monsters, but some of the ones I hate are Working Joe, Long-Faced Elder Dragon Horse from the Abyss, and last but not least, Radioactive Popcorn Grenade Chicken. The list is actually quite long on the monsters you can fight and how the difficulty ranges, and that just means you're going to be spending more hours in the game trying to conquer something that you didn't think you could do the first time. I've spent quite a few hours in Monster Hunter World, and it's been quite the enjoyable experience. Whenever I feel hungry for bossing and raiding, this is definitely one of the top games I go to scratch an itch. I can wholeheartedly vouch for Monster Hunter World being a great experience, especially for the kind of player that enjoys killing monsters and turning the loot into powerful and cool looking weapons and armor. Monster Hunter World also has some weapon options that feel like classes in general by how much they can really change your playstyle, and that's pretty unique. If I went into those fully and explained them, we'd be here for a while, so that's a whole different video in itself, probably multiple. I will say that there are some really knowledgeable guides out there already since the game's been out for a while for your weapon choices, and some really solid content creators that have put hours of work into that, so share the love if you wish. I will, however, say you can go from Naruto running around with dual blades, slashing like your life depends on it, to a tanky rock solid style with a lance where you just stand there and you take attack after attack, and there's a whole different set of mechanics that you can play with. You can also play a precision based greatsword that basically kind of feels like it's, you know, it feels like the weight of the world is in that greatsword and you're swinging it for whatever you can. I mean, you're doing flips over the damn thing. Bones and even support weapons that you can bonk monsters right on top of their heads. It's fast, it's fun, it's Monster Hunter. Give it a shot. I should mention there's also Dauntless to mess around with if you'd rather a free-to-play game that sort of has the same theme, I want to say, but not the same game itself. So check those out, see what you like, and give it a shot. Bet you didn't see this one coming. Ark. It's pretty simple. It's dinosaurs, prehistoric stuff. There are raid bosses in Ark, however. Manticore, King Kong's big brother, massive dragons. Generally, there are so many mods, especially in this game, that you can basically amuse yourself with on hours on end. The possibilities are pretty much endless. It could be a huge challenge to try and kill some of the raid bosses by yourself, but what's stopping you from erecting a prehistoric army to rival the gods? There's a lot you can do here. Granted, it's not a traditional raiding or bossing, but you can definitely play with friends, create some silly challenges, strange runs, respawns, discover new powerful monsters to tame or kill, mods that let you tame the bosses themselves even, so you can actually, you know, use the spoils of war in that sense. Yeah, I mean, you can't really go wrong here, but as I said before, it's not a traditional raiding or bossing like game. It doesn't have the MMORPG feel to it, but there is definitely some fun to be had here, especially if you combine Arcs raid bosses with mods in general. Take that into the game, and you can discover a hell of a lot of stuff. Celestial Argentavises, some demonic mods. There's a lot of dragon mods out there. There's just tons of content for this game that you can just spend 200, 300, 500 hours in and be somewhat satisfied. So give it a shot. How in the Rudy Poo candy thingamabobber do we even talk about a list about killing bosses and raiding without mentioning Dark Souls even once? Dark Souls, Sekiro, and other Souls-like games. Considering these games get so much praise, it's very easy to see the difficulty and mastery is something that consistently comes up in the Dark Souls world. If you're sincerely interested in fighting big bosses, strong bosses, small bosses, dragon bosses, slimy bosses, spider boob lady bosses that spit lava, and so much more, then Dark Souls and Sekiro are definitely worth it. Of course, you'll need to play the games normally, and you can't just skip to killing bosses part. If you have no knowledge of the games, however, you're pretty much guaranteed to have hours of content to trudge through, and eventually once you've beaten all there is to beat, and you're standing at the top of the mountain, feeling like the king of this absolutely horrible dark world, the sense of achievement is really euphoric. There is definitely going to be raging in your future though if you do decide to pick these games up, but give it a go. Be the next person that destroys Dark Souls and all of its content. So, if you're looking for an interesting game that's completely different style, instead of the swords and the boards and all of that, you get guns. It's pure carnage. Borderlands is great. I spent most of my time in Borderlands 2 and 3. I encourage you to give it a shot. This looter shooter is actually quite fantastic. It does have incredible bosses to fight. Cormorant's the Invincible, for example, was basically a damn raid boss the first time I met him. And in Borderlands 3, which is the newest installment in the series, it's kept up to date, and they've added 2 full-on raids, the Maluan takedown for one, and the newest Guardian takedown. It's an array of fun, and these interesting bosses, everything's tanky. Borderlands 3 basically has so much to do, but the other bosses in Borderlands 3 can pretty much be speedrun. This game is also available to play with friends or up to 4 players. The characters are unique in Borderlands and generally have different playstyles and ways to play them to get the most out of your experience. There's multiple build possibilities and an array of weapons to choose from in this game. Generally, it's a hell of a lot of fun, especially for a looter shooter with a unique style in general and fairly enjoyable story in my opinion. Obviously, everything is subjective, but let's say Tiny Tina's DLC in Borderlands 2 was probably one of my favorite DLCs of all time in a lot of games, and I have played a hell of a lot of games over my years. The game has depth and legitimate reach, and I'd say 100% recommendation from here to anyone looking to burn some time while awaiting a new MMORPG to come out. Great story, great gameplay, unique art, and wonderfully insane mayhem and anarchy. So in the next game, I really hope you don't
Mind if I got in?
I was debating putting this game up here. When I looked at games like Blade and Soul and even Final Fantasy XIV, I see some similarities in sense of accomplishment and general enjoyability I was able to get out of the games. Blade and Soul and Terra especially, where I spent a lot of time killing BAMs or dungeon solos or specific tactics. However, in Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, it feels so much more advanced. The game is older than most, but it held up quite well. Still one of my favorite hack and slash style games to this day. With wonderful mechanics, bosses that feel intense and amazing to fight, I'd highly recommend giving it a shot. Unlike many of the other games on this list though, it's definitely one that has a linear path that involves a story. So if that's not your thing, then I'd rethink Metal Gear Rising. Although to me, I enjoy the challenge, I enjoy the unlockables, the low replayability, but generally a good experience for not much money at all. Just wait for a Steam sale, pick it up, it's a steal of a game. It's definitely worth it for me. But then again, I am a Kojima fan, so he gets praise wherever the word Metal Gear are. Love the series in general, and I really enjoyed where Raiden's story went. Wish there was more, but wishful thinking. Not to mention this game is a literal meme farm. The story is great. I enjoyed every second of it. The boss fights were actually, in my opinion, really well done. Anything from the early boss fights, which I'm gonna try and keep spoiler free here, to where you're fighting something big versus fighting something smaller, that just feels like you're samurai on samurai and some cyborg ninja cyberpunky stuff that is just insane. I really had fun with this game and I highly recommend it. Next up on the list, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This game's actually really fun. It's up to date the most RPG friendly Assassin's Creed I've ever personally played. It's got side quests, full on missions, gear with rating levels, skill trees. It sort of feels rich and full of content and plenty of things to do. Whether you decide to play like a Spartan warrior or play the game as a full-on assassin or even a bow-wielding sharpshooter, the game gives you options, skills, abilities, and ways to make your personal build the best it can be. I mean, the sheer volume of Assassin's Creed Odyssey builds I found on YouTube are insane. Different items, different everything. I will say that the big thing on the bossing rating perspective when it comes to Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the fact that you can kill some of those mythical creatures you've heard about from ancient Greek mythology, Medusa, the Minotaur, and some of the others. Cranking up the difficulty to nightmare and challenging yourself generally brings me a lot of fun and success in this game. Genuinely entertaining and all-around fun game. The bossing part just seems to be an extra plus. So unlike many of the other games on this list, this one is sort of a whole package experience. Don't play it for the bosses, play it for the content as a whole, or skip it entirely. Hopefully, this list has assisted you, my fellow MMORPG players who are looking for something to play. If it has or hasn't, please let me know. With that, my top 6 list is pretty much complete. If you've got any questions, suggestions, comments, or general feedback, please let me know in the comment section below. It helps with the dreaded algorithm in general, otherwise no one really finds the content. So thank you for that in advance. While you're at it, don't forget to hit the notification bell and subscribe so you never miss a video. I stream on Twitch and post on Twitter. Got a great community in the Discord if you want to join a growing and inclusive community. It's pretty small so far, but we're growing, we're doing things, and it's pretty good. My socials will be in the description down below, including the Discord link if you want to hit that up. Please feel free to visit me while I set up my new PC that's finally here. My Twitch schedule will be posted as soon as I get everything situated. Much bigger and better things to come, friends. And for all of you that came here for Naraka content, fear not, got that in the works. As soon as we get something a little more concrete, I'll be delving deep into that rabbit hole. If this type of MMO alternative list sounds good to you, please let me know and I'll speed up production on other videos. I got a few ideas already set up, but happy to hear more. Let me know what kind of MMORPG player you are. And finally, a big thank you to everybody who's watched this video and supported me thus far. And as always, I've been Malicious, and this has been a pleasure.